How are y'all doing? So I'm sitting here going, again, what is it that I want to speak to? What feels like it needs to be spoken to? Because I feel like there's so much noise out there and I don't want to be a part of the noise. I want to be a part of the quieting down, right? So I feel like where I'm coming from and what I'm speaking to these days is much more of just a reminder. Maybe it's something new, but maybe it's just something that you already know, but it's a reminder for us all and something to just reflect back to us what our inner knowing already knows. And I think actually that's really important because we're moving out of the time of the guru or the teacher or the organization or the authority is here to tell you what life is about, who you are, who you should be, who you shouldn't be. And it's really coming into inner knowing. It's coming into authenticity, autonomy, sovereignty. And part of that, as I've spoken to in the past, is self-responsibility, which actually equals self-empowerment. But society has had this way of saying responsibility is like, oh, you have to carry the burden, right? Or somehow it's wrapped up in guilt and shame. And I think so much of what we're moving through right now is really simple, not always easy, but very simple. And that is that we're letting go of a very, very thick blanket of indoctrination that we're not good enough or that we're not worthy, that we should be like we are made of guilt and shame and lack of worth and sin and all of these things. We've been told these stories for thousands of years. And so I feel like right now, I don't know the best way I can show up here is just to remind you, is just simply to remind you of who you are. And again, I'm going to keep on saying that as the outer world gets louder, we have to become more quiet. As it becomes more chaotic, we have to become more still. So I want to keep these as little reminders every week to just support you with staying on track. And what I mean by staying on track is just come back home to who you are. Remember who you truly are. When we're letting go of old habits that are really ingrained in us, sometimes beyond our lifetime, right? Could be all of our ancestors before us. It takes practice to keep on showing up differently, to keep on speaking to ourselves differently, to keep on inviting new patterns of feeling, new patterns of thought, new patterns of perceiving, new patterns of relating and behaving. So these episodes, I think, are going to come through as that. It's like, I'm just going to be here to be a loving reminder of who you truly are. So today, what I want to look at is the releasing of guilt, of shame, and the belief that you should be someone that you're not, someone that you should be that's better than who you are right now. And it's the simplification of just what it really means to be sitting in our worth. So let's see where it takes us. As always, let's dive in. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. I was listening to someone speaking on a podcast, Steve Judd, I think it was. And he was saying, we're one of the only species that he's aware of that can laugh at itself. That humor is actually such a unique thing, right? And I think that when we do a lot of whatever you want to call it, the inner work, we understand what our ego is. It's not about getting rid of it. It's about having a healthy relationship to and with it and making it healthy. It's understanding that we're human, right? But that we're beyond human. And actually, when, we go into levels of meditation or we've worked through our kind of triggers and traumas and wounds and we're responding rather than reacting, we're living a more conscious life, right? We're more consciously embodied because we understand, oh, that's a trigger. Oh, that's what created that behavior. And we can take the self-responsibility that I mentioned in the beginning. That's actually really self-empowering because all of a sudden we're not at the mercy of our humanity. We're in partnership with it and we're engaging out of choice right? Rather than out of like, I can't control what the hell I'm thinking, feeling, how I'm behaving, how I'm reacting, all of that stuff. When we get to those levels, there is a greater sense of humor that can come through. And even people that connect to kind of beings on the other side, they often have a really good sense of humor. It's like we take things so seriously here, right? And I put my hand up. I'm one of them that has definitely taken the shit way too serious. And I thankfully have a very playful side and a very silly humoristic side, and I love laughing. I love deep conversations, but I also love laughing. And I think it's really important to hold this now more than ever. And that might, for some of you, you might think, well, how can you laugh? How can you laugh in these times? Right? And I get it. I really get it. There's a lot that's not funny at all. And yet what laughter is it's a spontaneous burst of the most beautiful, innocent, pure energy. Like laughter's infectious, right? Someone starts laughing and everyone starts laughing and your whole mood shifts, right? There was a great video that it looks like it was back from like the 90s or something, because it's such an old school kind of video. The video looks really old. And I think it was in Sweden or something like this, where this man comes onto a subway, onto a train, and he's just sitting there. And all of a sudden he starts laughing. He just kind of laughs a little bit and then a little bit more and a little bit more. And people at first are like, everybody's like looking down at this. This is pre-phone time, I think. So everybody was like reading the newspaper, just looking really grim, having to go to work on probably a Monday morning, whatever. And the energy was heavy in that compartment. But then people kind of look around and they're looking at him and they're at first like, who is this man and what is he laughing at? Like, what is he doing? What is he looking at? Because of course this was the time before iPhones and Instagram and all of this stuff and funny reels and memes. And then one of them starts chuckling with him, and then another one starts chuckling with him. And eventually it gets to all of these people in this compartment on the train start laughing and roaring with laughter. And people are, coming on to the train and being like, what is everybody laughing at? What is this? They come in at first feeling this is so strange, and then they join in laughter. And this goes on for several minutes. And finally it kind of dies down and he gets off the train. And some of them are still chuckling, they're still looking at each other, and there's still the remnants of the laughter. And then you see him, the video scans over, he's gotten on the other side, the train going in the other direction. And you can see through the window the same thing, that he just starts laughing. And you just get, the video ends there and you're like, oh, right. So this guy is like, an angel that is coming to bring laughter to people, and laughter is contagious and it changes your mood and it makes you brighter and happier. And, look at babies, look at children, look at how much they laugh. Look at, puppies, how playful they are. Like, this is a part of our true essence. And unfortunately, in this realm, in this reality, and now more than ever, there is just a heaviness and there's a density and there's a seriousness to everything. Like I said, there's good reason for it, but we have to remember laughter, because laughter connects us to our essence, the essence of who we are, which is playful and creative and imaginative. And when we laugh, we feel happy and we feel love, and it connects us into this. Yeah, I the best way I can describe it is like this innocence that's not an innocence that's naive, but a purity of being. And I think we need to remember how to laugh, because what that will do in serious times, in times that are tragic, is it will lift the spirits and the energy of other people. Because we don't need, just because something is serious and terrible and chaotic and messed up in so many ways, we're not helping out if we're kind of go into that negativity and into that doomsday and just fueling the fear or fueling the hatred or the violence or the segregation and all of that stuff. We need to be the change, right? So it's not spiritual bypassing. It's not escapism. It's actually, how do you inject? It's like the image that just came into my mind is, imagine like a war zone and there's just rubble everywhere. And then out of the rubble, you see like, a weed, a daisy. that comes through. Actually, what I saw in my mind was a red rose, which is much more poetic, but what's probably most likely would be like a daisy, right? That comes out of the rubble. And it gives you this moment of beauty, hope, faith, life, whatever it might mean to you. It gives you something that's juxtaposed to something that is so terrible. But you see, actually, the metaphor for it is that beauty and life can live through anything, anything and everything. If you believe, if I'm going to come from the perspective of if you're in your heart, if you're connected to who you truly are and to your soul and to source and to the divine law, which is of love and truth and authenticity and integrity and all of the beautiful qualities that we really want to embody, that I believe innately is within us, but society has groomed us out of it, right? So I love this image that just came through in my mind, because it's like, be the beauty amidst the ugliness. And that goes within and without, right? So one of the reminders today for us all is, being kind to yourself in a world that tells you that you're not good enough or perfect enough is like a radical rebellion. Being kind to yourself is what is going to change your patterning, your behavior, your belief systems, your habits of treating yourself like someone that is not worthy of love, is not worthy of good communication or affection or patience or tenderness or presence or care or forgiveness or whatever it might be for you, right? We are deserving of all of those. And of course, we look to the outside to want to receive that. And that's a beautiful thing to receive from the outside. But as we know, it has to start within. And so the most important person that we require kindness from is ourselves. So this is a reminder that letting go of guilt and shame, self-blame, any way in which you're speaking to yourself in a really harsh way, in any way, I don't like these terms, but in any way that you're speaking to yourself negatively, that you're putting yourself down, that you are critiquing and judging yourself, all of that really requires your kindness, gentleness, to come into that, like, holding yourself as if you're that baby that is of that pure essence and pure spirit that is still so connected to that kind of like beautiful smile that you look into a baby's eyes and you can still see God, source, whatever you want to call it, right? You can see that unconditional love. You can see the beauty of just our spirit, because when we see, this is why we love kittens and puppies and babies. And it's not just because they're small and they're cute and they have like little paws or little fingers or little toes, or it's because they carry the essence of home, our home on the other side, our infinite, eternal home. And, I think part of these times is the unveiling of the truth that there is no death, there's only transition, and that we are playing a character. But that doesn't have to scare people into feeling like, oh my God, I'm playing this foreign thing. And then all of a sudden you have this like, well, who is Corinne, or who's, whatever your name is, because you're integrating with that part. But it's really, when I began doing workshops, most especially around manifesting your soulmate, which I would change the language to that a lot now. But one of the biggest first steps, well, not the first step, because the first steps were really looking at like, okay, what do we need to unravel and unveil? All the limiting beliefs, all of the false identities that are making you think that you're not good enough, not lovable enough, not significant enough, not wanted, you're rejected, you're abandoned. It's like having to move through the shadow first. But then the next part that is so important before going into the manifestation part of the journey is you have to connect to your true essence. So once you've moved through all of the illusions of who you think you are, the false stories of who you think you are and the identity that is false within those stories and belief systems, then you come back to like, oh, who and what is my true essence, which is your spirit, which is your soul. And that has a feeling, that has a texture even. And once you get to know that, which I personally find it, you find it in the stillness, in the quiet, in the meditation, which I prefer to call the being with, just sitting with and being with yourself. Once you get to know, remember how I've used this analogy, the canvas behind the painting. That canvas behind the painting is forever there. That is your soul, your essence, and your true spirit. And whatever you paint on top of that is your personality and your life experiences and everything that you've gone through. But the essence of who you are is the canvas. And once you get to know the feeling, and it is a feeling, it is an energy, it is a frequency, it is a vibration, but you absorb that information and that knowing, that gnosis through a feeling. And I've just believed this even from like the beginning of my own personal journey before I did this, with people, individuals, and groups as my work. Feeling is the key. Feeling is the key. Because look at, again, I'm going to use the example of animals. They will intuitively and telepathically pick up who you are by how they feel, because they're feeling your field. They're feeling your aura. They're feeling the energy that is within and around you. Cats are such a good example, horses as well, because they know. Well, all animals know if you're in fear, they're going to pick it up and they're going to react to it. They're going to respond to it in that way, right? If you're in a loving, calm space, they will reflect that back to you. And then they'll come in, like a cat will take its time, right? It's checking you out. Like, I need to check out what's going on in your whole field before I come up to you. And if they sense, they're not going to come up to you. And if they're like, okay, no, this person is safe or loving or open or gentle or kind, they'll know. And then they come up and they let you rub their head. And we are actually no different, but we just have been so severed from this sense and from this center of gravity, because we've been taught, no, you need to rationally know everything. You need to use your left brain. Everything needs to be logical. You can only know something once you have that knowledge in your brain. Something only exists if it can be proven. When, as we know, consciousness has existed forever, and science is only just now saying, oh, yes, consciousness is a real thing, right? And this was always my argument with someone in my life before. I'm like, if they can prove that it exists, that has to mean that it already existed. It already existed before. It wasn't like through the proof it was invented. It already existed, right? And so we have this funny need nowadays in our society and culture of like, no, you have to rationalize everything and make it factual, and then it exists. Then it is true, right? And that can be really warped as well. I read something the other day that said, it's amazing how people don't need any proof for a lie, but they just need like endless evidence for a truth. And I thought, wow, that's powerful, right? That's really powerful. So coming back to getting to know your essence is allowing yourself to grow beyond just your skin and bones and flesh, right? This avatar, this character that you're playing, but part of it is have a loving relationship with this character. You need it. It's your vessel in this lifetime. You need it. You need to take care of it. You need to love it. You need to be kind to it. You need to speak kindly to it, because we're not just speaking to our soul. We're also speaking to our ego. That is going to create our personality. And if we're mean and we're judging and shaming and blaming, and again, our society through praise and punishment, through the not good enough, through certain religious stories of sin and you're going to go to hell and, oh, but God loves you. It's like, there's a lot of crossed wires there, and there's a lot of shaming and blaming and judging and punishing, and when actually the essence of who we are and the essence of source itself is unconditional love. And all you need to do is listen to like a handful of NDErs talk about their experience to be like, you just couldn't believe the amount of love that you're held within, and there's zero judgment. So part of our evolution right now is to be able to embody that. And this is why love is so important. It's not just so that we can be like hippie, oh, money, padme, I always make jokes of it, but I'm humor. It's important to have humor. But it's actually this grounded love isn't just hippy dippy flowers, woke, whatever shit labels you want to throw onto it, which is just yet another judgment. Love is the fabric of everything. It's the fabric of who you are. It's the fabric of existence. It's the thread that weaves everything together. And so if we want to be evolving right now, or whatever terminology you want to use, if we're ascending, for awakening, for moving into different dimensions, the portal will always be love. And what needs to be left behind is the guilt and shame and the illusion that you're not good enough, the illusion that you're not whole, the illusion that something is wrong with you and you're broken and you need to be fixed. It's all an illusion, right? But we don't get rid of it. We transmute and we alchemize it by loving it. Like, it deserves love. Any part of you that you believe is broken or wrong or needs fixing, or that you need to get rid of it, guess what? That means that you need to look more towards that part and say, I love you too. I love you too, and I accept you too. And I think we have to take this acceptance of who we are, which means every part of us. It's not just accepting the parts that we like, it's accepting all parts. The physical, the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual, all of it. And I think, I think sometimes people have this kind of where they hit the wall is like, well, how do I accept something that makes me feel so uncomfortable? Or how do I accept something that I feel so ashamed about? And there's two different answers to those. That's just two examples, right? But they're gonna come to the same point. What makes you uncomfortable is inviting you to sit and stay with presence. What makes you feel shame or guilt or whatever that story, that narrative might be, again, it's asking you to sit with it. But what it's asking you for is love. It's asking you to understand, why am I judging this? Shame comes because of judgment. A judgment comes because of an opinion. An opinion is based on what you believe is right and wrong, right? So if nothing is neither right or wrong or good or bad, and we're coming out of the duality of that, which I know that's a bit of a touchy subject, but just I'm going to try and keep it very, very simple. When we're coming into that actual more divine perspective that doesn't see things as good, bad, right, wrong, positive or negative, is there a consequence for certain ways that we behave that might create some more pain or suffering or tension? Yes. Is it good or bad? That's irrelevant. That doesn't mean that I condone someone being violent, but there are always cause and effect, and there's repercussions. But for when we're just dealing with our own human experience, if we're staying in the opinion that when I do this, I'm good, and when I do this, I'm bad, or if I feel this is right, if I feel that, that's wrong. This is a positive thought, this is a negative thought. We are in constant conflict with ourselves. Whereas you might say, I don't prefer this state of being. This state of being makes me feel really uncomfortable. I don't like it. That's okay. Those are all like how you feel about things. That's totally fine. But those things can also change. They're not absolutes, right? When we speak in absolutes of like, this is bad, this is shameful, this is negative, this is sinful, this is evil, this I should get rid of, it makes it like hard and heavy and dense, and it's much harder for the body and being to release that, because essentially when we make something dense and heavy, it's like trying to move a boulder, right? It's really hard. Whereas if we hold it from a place of like, okay, that's just an opinion, someone else's opinion, that to feel this is bad, when actually it's just a feeling and it's just a thought, and it can come in and it can go out. It can come in, we can feel it, we can move through it, we release it, and it's like we've alchemized it, we've changed it. It's all energy. And actually beneath the energy is all light. It's all the same thing, but the way that it's formed changes according to our belief of it. Are you following me? Is this making sense? I hope so. So when we are in a state of fluidity with our experience, and what I mean by fluidity is I'm not hardening it into a matter that says it is this, and especially when judgment comes in, I see things in visuals all the time. This is why I much prefer doing soul readings, because it's just the visuals are so much easier than the words. But it's like it gets like hard, heavy. It's harder to move through. And I don't know why this image is coming through is, Dr. Emoto's work or Veda Austin's work with water. And when you look at the water molecules they've had like either really bad music or hateful messages sent to them, the images are all like disjointed and normally very linear and very like compact and not pretty, right? Whereas when they're exposed to beautiful things and beautiful music or love or compassion or kindness, they're these beautiful, light, intricate, sacred geometry designs. Again, we're no different. When we place a judgment, we're made of water, right? So we're making ourselves very kind of dense and disjointed and clogged in and fragmented. And it's not this beautiful geometry of who we truly are. So there's so much coming through. So the simplest thing is, even as the shame comes up, be kind with it. Be curious. Where is this coming from? Where did I learn this? Why do I have this opinion? Why am I judging it as good, bad, right, wrong? Right? What if I just allowed it to be what it is and give it the love that it needs and let it go? I know you might be like, Corinne, you're so oversimplifying and it's not that easy. And I've gone to therapy for 15 years and nothing is changing. And I would challenge that by saying two things. One is simple doesn't always mean easy. And two, if we've been in therapy for 15 years and nothing has changed, it probably means that we're getting stuck in the same story and we're not moving beyond it. We're just in the story. We're just in the analysis. We actually haven't properly processed something in a somatic, energetic, cellular way where we can actually let go of it. If we just stay in the realm of the brain and the mind and the story and what we believe about it, and then that triggers the same kind of emotions and we relive it, we're just on a loop, right? The record is going round and round and round on repeat. We have this opportunity now to really release things much more quickly, but it comes back to feeling. If our essence is a state of feeling, if it's a vibratory field, you're not going to change it simply through your cognizance, through your like, yes, thought has an absolute power and influence, right? For good or for bad, it's either useful or it's really unuseful. It can be helpful or it can be detrimental. But the most important part of it is the feeling. Because you can say positive affirmations till the cows come home. If you're not feeling that affirmation in your body, if you're not living as if that's already so, you're going to be, your part of you is going to be like, yeah, whatever. I don't believe that. It's not feeling it. It's not feeling it. And if we are a feeling in motion, an energy in motion, then the work has to be done on that level. And it's hard to come out of the pattern, the habit, right? It is so much of our behavior is habitual. And so you have to get in intersect it. You have to intersect the habit, the pattern. And that is a way of just stopping and pausing that kind of track to go, wait a second, stop, breathe in, breathe out. What if I didn't go into my triggered, repetitive, knee-jerk, habitual reaction to whatever this thing is, thought, experience, feeling, situation, belief, identity? And if I actually just stayed in the moment and go, what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? And sit with that, stay with that. Give it a voice if it needs a voice. Let it articulate itself. Let it, breathe out and express what maybe it's been holding for years, if not decades. And then, of course, what helps to resolve the feeling and allow it to let go and transmute is, what does the feeling need? What does the feeling need? And can I give myself that need? Can I give myself that need? I wish my mother, I wish my father, I wish my partner, I wish my sister, I wish my brother, yes, of course, totally valid. But in that moment, nobody's going to change it other than you. And it's not going to change unless you have a different feeling. Marry it with the thought, but it has to come into the embodied form of a feeling in order for it to shift. So going back to the beginning, as things get louder, you have to get quieter. As things get more chaotic and fast paced, you have to find your stillness. And the work really right now is to be in that inner inquiry of, how am I feeling? And if judgment comes in, if shame comes in, if blame comes in, if guilt comes in, where's that opinion coming from? It's an opinion. And there's a story and narrative that comes with it. And there's a belief and an identity that comes with it. Where did that originate? And then you unravel it through that. Oh, the opinion came from my teacher. It came from my grandfather. It came from whatever. You unravel it. What does it mean to me? Do I want to take that on? Do I want to carry that forward? Do I want to believe in that? How is it serving me? Is this pattern serving me? Do I enjoy showing up like this? Is it helping me in my relationships, or is it hindering me in my relationships? No self-blame, no self-judgment, but self-responsibility. We're coming into a time of sovereignty and authenticity, and autonomy means you don't get to blame anyone else. You don't get to still blame your parents or your teachers or your peers or God or universe. You know why? Because it disempowers you. It keeps you in victimization. It keeps you in that kind of, I am below and something else is above. Yes, we could say God, source, creator of all that is like the thing that you could say is the father, mother of who we are, but it doesn't see us as something lesser than and inferior to it. It loves us so unconditionally. We can't even comprehend how much it loves us. And it's like, we are an extension of it. We are the true definition of the children of source. And when there's no conditionality that we experience in human form, there is nothing but unconditional love, which, parents aspire to unconditionally love their child. And most of the time we do. Sometimes, of course, there's condition, there's judgment, we're human, right? That's part of learning and growing in this experience. So it's just coming back to that, recognizing, where did you learn this from? And the self-responsibility piece means, I'm not going to waste my energy and I'm not going to hand over my power to a story that says I can't heal this myself. I can't resolve this myself. I need some mediumship in order to be connected to source or my higher self. No. You are the direct channel, highway, cable, whatever terminology you use. You are the source. You are the portal. You are the doorway. You are the path. You are not separate from that. That's the biggest illusion, right? The biggest freaking illusion. And I know spirituality and metaphysics and philosophy has talked about it for ages, but it's the biggest illusion. So the invitation, go into the spiral to understand simply, don't make it too complicated, but go into the spiral to understand simply, where did this birth itself from? Where did this originate from? Is it mine? 99.9%, it's not going to be yours. Now, you might have taken something that wasn't yours and then you interpreted it in a way that you created that. You interpreted, I am rejected, I am abandoned, I am not lovable, right? That's how you interpreted a situation. And so also you have to zoom out and go, what is the truth? Is that really the greater truth? Is it that I'm so insignificant and something's so wrong with me and I'm so unlovable? No, that can't be true, because from the perspective of Source God Creator, every living sentient being is loved and accepted for who and what it is, right? So just know that that's an illusion. That's a lie. Get to the source of it. Understand how you created the story, but then come to the place of how am I feeling and what do I need? And can I give myself that need? And then can I let it go? Because we can be so easily addicted to our story and the narratives and the beliefs and the identities. That is the key thing. We have to work with our identities. But the basic invitation here, if I were to super simplify it, is coming back to just that reminder of whatever I'm thinking, feeling, experiencing right now. Can I love that too? Can it be okay? Can I accept it with love, with that unconditional love that we're so often seeking for outside of ourselves? Can I be that for myself? Can I show that to myself? And then the more that we do that for ourselves, obviously, the more we do it for others. And as I've said it before, and as cliche as it sounds, that's how we change the world. This is the evolution right now. This is the ascension. It's having to unravel all of this gunk and shed ourselves of it. We're in the year of the snake. Shed that shit off you. You don't need to carry it anymore. And it's not like, oh, I need to be so good and positive and authentic all the time that I'm perfect and therefore I love myself and I accept myself. No. However you are right now in this moment, as you're listening or watching this, you're good enough. You're enough. Can you love this too? Can you love how you're feeling right now in this moment? Can you love that too? Even if you don't, can you love that? Even if you feel uncomfortable, can you love that? Even if you feel like it's all gone to shit, can you love that? Even if you feel like impatient, can you have patience and love that too? Really simple, not always easy, but really, really simple. You have been told a lie that you're not good enough, that you're not powerful, that you're not connected to God's source divine, that doesn't even exist. It does exist, and you know it, and more people are awakening to it. And it's not religious, and it's not spiritual, and it's not woo-woo. It is simply the truth. And I say that with such conviction because once you start to go into yourself, you will just feel it. It's all in a feeling. You don't need the logic. You don't need the proof. You don't need the evidence. You don't need to explain it. You don't even need to put it into words. You will feel it and you will know it with every fiber of your being that it is true. And that's all you need to know. That's it. But you got to discover that for yourself. So go inwards. This is the time to go inwards. Get to know yourself. Cultivate a relationship with yourself through kindness, through love, through compassion, acceptance, forgiveness, patience, kindness, softness, gentleness, so that we can return to the innocence of that baby that just can laugh and giggle at life, because it's all so beautiful and wondrous and miraculous. Yeah. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. As always, take it or leave it as feels right for you, and loving you from afar. Thank you for being here with me. Bye. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.